Counter-Narrative News, bringing you daily news today on Saturday, the 11th of February 2023. Going straight to the fallout of the horrific earthquake impacting the Turkish and Syrian area. Just like to report on how several things are going on here. First of all, the quite relatively pathetic response in the relief effort from Western nations, and particularly Britain. There was one news report that bemoaned Britain's economic situation, that, quote-unquote, despite that, they were generous enough to offer some financial and practical support in the relief effort. This is quite interesting, considering the fact that Britain has been a leading part of creating violent destabilization across the region, not least including the infamous conflict in destroying Iraq from 1990 to 2003, the decision of Western states to conduct a bombing raid within the Syrian civil war of the last decade, and other issues as well, and not least the failure to support any right of Kurdish self-determination in a just way. But would it be any other way, considering the nature of the political economic states at play here? In terms of the migration issue, it's very awkward for states like Britain because they are weaponizing in a racist manner the migration flows that end up with humans reaching the border of Britain itself. The far-right Tory regime here in London is using the small migrants coming on small boats, asylum seekers coming on small boats, to be some kind of existentialist crisis of British society and whipping up racism in this regards. More on this shortly in terms of what happened in North England at a hotel housing asylum seekers. So the earthquake and the more than 5 million people made homeless in Turkey and Syria over this is only going to increase the migration flows coming into Europe and to Britain itself. Kurdish people and other Syrian Iraqi people constitute a major section of those arriving on British shores and within the British border. But Turkey and Lebanon, for example, have borne the brunt of the fallout of war refugees and migration of the last 10 years of civil war in Syria, and also decades previous in terms of the destabilization and the unlivable conditions increasingly in Iraq. Turkey and Lebanon have received more than 5 million refugees from the fallout of these conflicts, in which Britain is bemoaning having to receive just a tiny fraction of that. The other aspect to the earthquake also is, on the one hand, humans are absolutely right and correct to reach out in a framework of empathy and human solidarity in terms of a plight of the people of the region. However, it should also be remembered that the people of the region have, in a Western racist approach, been normalized in this extent of suffering. It's these brown bodies from the so-called Middle East that we've become normalized to be seeing as dead, tortured, shredded, jailed, imprisoned, drowning, etc., etc. So it's a bit of a virtual neo-colonial racist disaster tourism for everyone then to be reaching out in these really heartbreaking pictures of people losing their children, their loved ones, etc. It's a balance between really a correct ethical human solidarity and then this much more neo-colonial narcissistic social media culture of using other people's plight to somehow posture on social media. So there's different problematics at play there. Going over to the Sahel and the Western African region, the military juntas of Mali, Guinea, and Burkina Faso are discussing a possible formal regional bloc and alliance, and they're posturing over the legacies of Pan-Africanism in this regards. The revolutionary leaders of Pan-Africanism are very clear. It cannot be capitalist-oriented military juntas and dictatorships that can deliver Pan-Africanism. No, it's the popular struggles in a socialist direction that can achieve Pan-Africanism. And despite its some relative dysfunctionalities, The socialist state of Libya, which was destroyed in the NATO operation 2011, represented exactly that, a leading socialist state on the African continent, giving political leadership to Pan-Africanism. Now, the West African body of ECOWAS has sanctioned Mali, Guinea and Burkina Faso because they have military juntas and dictatorships, and have been encouraging these three African countries and states to return to civilian rule. So it could be a response of sorts by these three countries in responding to ECOWAS there, and also hot on the heels of the visit of Russia's foreign minister, Lavrov, who is trying to give some kind of support in the form of the racist death squad Wagner, who are also killing civilians and looting Africans' mineral wealth. So interesting developments and tensions over there. Going to the southern part of the African continent, South African ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has made a State of the Union address in which he has to comment on major social crises developing there, not least the some 33% of the population being unemployed, and the daily up to 8-hour blackouts affecting businesses, schools and other civilian institutions and infrastructure there. Ramaphosa had nothing concretely to offer, because these things can only really be remedied and addressed by either a state or a relationship with popular movements in an orientation of wealth redistribution and empowerment of the population. None of that it was mentioned in Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address. Rather, these touchy-feely, rather manipulative comments of encouraging quote-unquote resilience. Of course, humans are resilient. Humans have always been resilient, even to the point of death by means of torture. People and humans still remain resilient. That's not exactly going to help humans in their conditions by giving them slogans of resilience, but not addressing the substantial issues. Going to a town very close to Liverpool in Knowsley sees a horrific incident on the evening of Friday, the 10th of February last night, in which locals formed a racist, veritable lynch mob attacking a hotel housing asylum seekers. It seems mainly Asian, Middle Eastern asylum seekers. There's been rumors and a video has gone around pointing to a possible sexual harassment of a white girl of 15 years old by an allegedly asylum seeker of 25 years old. It has not been proven that this video is true or a real one. It could be falsely attributed. But nevertheless, this is still no excuse to be acting out such violent racism. The violent mob tried to attack the hotel housing the asylum seekers and ended up having clashes with police, including the burning of a police van. What this incident has done is greatly inspire and push forward this violent racism, and it's probable that more similar attacks on hotels housing asylum seekers will be conducted. This is all in a framework of racist incidents coming out like the fountain of racism, which is Brexit. The Brexit referendum took place back in 2017 in June, and really what Brexit did was to gather the far-right forces and politics explicitly and overtly within the government and the British state, and that's what it's been espousing and is leading to these incidents. It's very important also to understand that this type of violent racism is not marginal or peripheral or something that is the exception. The British population is largely racist, and they have a violent racist consciousness and political position. In relation to that, something interesting happened in late January. Someone from roughly the North Midlands area of England, a young man of 19 years old, Daniel Harris, was jailed for 11 and a half years for influencing and encouraging violent racist massacres, in which he directly influenced Peyton Gendron, who killed 10 people in Buffalo, New York. That's 10 black people. And also Andersey Lee Aldrich, who killed 5 gay people in a nightclub in Colorado Springs last November. So here you have one of many instances of whereby far-right racist activists on social media are absolutely delivering real-life violent attacks of fatalities and injuries and mass deaths of those communities that are put into the zone of non-being and dehumanized by this colonial, capitalist and racist system. That was Counter-Narrative News, bringing you daily news today. Please do continue to support us by encouraging people to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter at counter_CNN. Really happy to report we have well over 100 subscribers now within the first 2 months of our service, and also well over 100 videos. We wish you all the best. Thank you.